travel back to the evening of February 18th, 1965, in Marion, Alabama. A group of civil rights activists had gathered to support James Orange, a key figure in the Southern Christian Leadership Conference. The peaceful intentions of these activists were met with brutal opposition from Alabama state troopers. The violence escalated, and, amidst the chaos, Jimmie Lee Jackson, his mother and grandfather sought refuge in Mac's Cafe. Tragically, this sanctuary was breached when police followed them in and assaulted them. In an attempt to protect his family, Jimmie Lee Jackson was shot twice by Trooper James Fowler and succumbed to his injuries 8 days later. The death of Jimmie Lee Jackson was not just a personal tragedy, but a pivotal moment in the civil rights movement, setting the stage for the infamous march known as Bloody Sunday. It highlighted the systemic abuse of power and the urgent need for change. Fast forward to May 25, 2020, when George Floyd, a 46-year-old black man, died under the knee of a Minneapolis police officer, Derek Chauvin. This act of violence occurred in broad daylight and was captured on video, sparking global outrage and a sweeping call for justice. The footage showed Mr. Floyd gasping for breath, pleading for his life with the words, "I can't breathe," a phrase that became a rallying cry for protesters worldwide. Following Mr. Floyd's death, the officers involved, Derek Chauvin, Thomas Lane, Tia Tao, and J. Alexander Kueng, were terminated from their positions and faced charges. In April 2021, Derek Chauvin was convicted of murder and sentenced to 22.5 years in prison. The other officers received various sentences, marking a rare moment of accountability in law enforcement. The impact of George Floyd's death was profound, igniting protests across the United States and beyond, challenging public monuments, sports team names, and the very foundations of policing. Yet, the journey towards justice and equality is far from over. Each instance of violence and discrimination against individuals like Jimmie Lee Jackson and George Floyd reveals the deep-seated issues within the systems meant to protect and serve. These are not isolated incidents, but rather symptoms of a broader societal ailment that requires continuous, concerted efforts to remedy. As history unfolds, it becomes clear that the struggle for justice and equality is ongoing. The deaths of Jimmie Lee Jackson and George Floyd, separated by decades, serve as grim reminders of the work that remains. It is the responsibility of each generation to learn from these tragedies, to advocate for systemic changes, and to ensure that the future does not echo the injustices of the past. In the words of Dr. King, we must be concerned not merely about who committed these acts, but about the system, the way of life, the philosophy which produced the perpetrators. The road to justice is long and winding, but it is a path that must be traveled if we aspire to live in a world where such tragedies are no longer commonplace.